How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Box to Box. It's Chelsea Tuesday night right here at the Emirates, and as always, you know who it is already. We got Matisse in the building. What are you saying, Matisse?
Big up, brother. Big up. It's a long day.
It's a long day, I lie.
It's a long day for this one, I can't lie.
Listen, I can't lie to you. A lot has changed over the years since I've known you and since we've been doing Big Six. I remember last year's Box to Box, he was talking about how Arteta's going to fare this season with a year under Conte's belt and all of this stuff. But he fared pretty well. Obviously, as we stand here right now, the common rhetoric from the opposition fans are, you bottled it, you choked. And I understand why. Because we went into that Manchester City game hoping for an 11-point lead. Instead, we only had a few points difference, a couple games in hand for Man City. And now we go into this game, second in the league for the first time since February, since they beat us at the Emirates. Before we talk about Arsenal, let's talk about Chelsea, because it's a mess, and I think that's putting it lightly, Matisse.
It is putting it lightly. I mean, literally, we've rehired a physio that we sacked earlier on in the season because the players want him back. We still haven't announced a manager. Do you know what I mean? They're killing my algorithm right now. I'm waiting for so much news and it's not coming out. Contracts are running out with, Kante, still yet to wait on that one as well. Mason Mount, there was talk that there would be a renewal. We're still waiting on that. And the amount of players we have is insane. We got an interim manager as well that is meant to be obviously here for the vibes, but he's yet to even give us a singular vibe. Do you know what I mean? We're waiting for a win, waiting for a draw. We're on 39 points. I've been asking for 40 for months. People laughed at me. You're not laughing now, are you? Do you know what I mean? People were like, oh, this guy's being melodramatic again. I said, no, I need these 40 points. Walk before you can run. Before we start talking about European places. My team, if we were in a relegation battle, we wouldn't get out of it. That's where my team is at. We would get relegated if we were going really into the trenches.
Yeah, I mean, I see something on Twitter the other day that showed where you'd be taking into account the last 5 games, the last 10 games, 15 and 20.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's in the relegation zone / relegation battle.
Yeah.
You mentioned the 40-point mark. When you initially said that, I remember Palace were on about 27 points. They've managed to hit the 40. Bournemouth, God knows what they were on. They've just matched you in 39 points.
Yeah.
And you currently sit 12th in the table.
Yeah.
I mean, is this going to be a quick fix? Because Chelsea, over the last decade or so, a bit longer, have been a team used to winning majors, Premier League, Champions Leagues, and so on. But the mess that you're in at the moment, regardless of the quality and personnel that you got, do you think it's going to be a quick turnaround, or have you had to take a step back to say this is going to take 2-3 years at the very least before we can even think about challenging for the majors again?
I mean, we haven't challenged for the Premier League since 2017, so this is for us, top 4 battle is normal. Outside of some cup finals against Liverpool, which we've lost, and then obviously the Champions League, we are a team in the league that don't perform on a consistent level. And that comes from instability, that comes from chopping and changing, that comes from a lack of direction, that comes from a regime under Roman that was kind of more directed to, buying big names and obviously sacking managers if they didn't perform. Now it's about systems and structures, and that takes a long time to build. So it's difficult. I think for us, it's going to spiral on into next season, 100%. It's impossible for it not to. Lukaku's coming back, 6 or 7 loanees are coming back on top of the squad that we've already got. It's going to have to be a yard sale. It's going to have to be a lemonade stand. They're going to have to be letting people go for 5p, 10p. Do you know what I mean? And I'm fine with that. But most likely with that USA tour, we're going to be kind of a little bit messy going into the start of next season. And that's where Pochettino comes in. Hopefully he comes in and he corrects that. And then next season, we'll see what happens. Hopefully a top 4 in a cup. If we can have a similar season to what Man United had this season, that'd be a big step in the right direction. But outside of that, I wouldn't be thinking about titles anytime in the next couple of years.
Is it now, in terms of Chelsea fans, or you obviously you don't speak for the fan base, you speak for yourself, but the next manager that comes in, if it is Pochettino, is it about giving him time? Because say he comes in and says, I want to keep Lukaku. I know how a lot of Chelsea fans feel about Lukaku, yourself included.
Bruv, sack him.
I wouldn't be surprised if these men turn like that. But are you with him, whatever decisions he comes in to make?
I've defended him a lot. And I think my first defence started on Big Six when I felt he was catching too much disrespect. And I really rate Poch. I really like him. I think he's very underrated and very disrespected. I think he does need time. I think outside of Poch, whoever we were to hire, it's about the environment we put them in. If we put them in a situation where the squad's bloated, if we put them in a situation where Todd Bowie's in the dressing room, shouting orders and offering people Chipotle, then it's a problem. Do you know what I mean? Like you need to be moved out of the way. And I think that was one of the things that they spoke about in the meeting that was kind of like maybe a disagreement, is that you can't be in the dressing room. I need to manage the squad. I need to be in full control. So for me personally, I take a look at it and I think to myself, Poch, he needs the time. You can't sack 3 managers or have 3 managers in one season and then after that go on another sacking parade. That's worse than Roman. You're outdoing it. You're outdoing Roman on sacking and you're outdoing Roman on spending. Mm-hmm. So, you said that you weren't going to be anything like him. You know what I mean? You killed the man, but not the idea. It's just what it seems at the moment. So we need to calm it down. And I do want stability. I do want a couple of years of just no noise, really. You
mentioned that you ain't challenged for a Premier League since 2017. That's the year you won it, right?
So the Conte, yeah.
So the decline has been there for a little while.
Yeah.
But this season has been different to the rest. What do you put this season down to? Obviously, we talk on the Big Six week in, week out. I'm going to assume that it's that initial Tuchel sacking that this season's poor performances comes down to. Or do you think there's more to it? Do you think the summer spending and the personnel that came in were not adequate enough or the right fit?
I think they were caught in two minds. If you take a look at the summer window, it was an experienced player that they were going
Sterling,
for.
Aubameyang and
Koulibaly. I think the average age was about 27, 28. That was for instant impact. That was for instant success to replace the Rudigers, the Christensens. Those players came for Tuchel. You sack Tuchel a week after the window closes. Mad. Now what? Now they're looking at you left thinking, yo, who's this Graham guy? Do you know what I mean? This Graham guy that comes in and he's humble and he doesn't mind, what the results are, and he's kind of here for the long term. It's like, this is a big football club. You need to win to get the fans on side. You need to win some matches to earn that credit with the players and with the fans and with everyone. And that was never really the mentality. And the thing is with the January window is that we signed loads of players because we wanted to take advantage of FFP while we could, skate around the rules.
Sorry to cut you, but how did you do that? Because I'm onto the Kroenkes all the time, and this is a big summer coming up for Arsenal. How did you manage to spend this money without risk of being fined or docked points and all of these?
I think when they take into account the sanctions and the amount of money we lost during the sanctions, which was out of our control, the government's put that on us, and then the situation was, okay, cool, this club have lost a lot of money, that's going to take into account on the books, so now we can spend more money, we're debt free, and the new owner comes in, and obviously we've amortized everybody's contracts with, as everybody would, but we've offered them 7, 8 year, 9 contracts instead of 5. So when you take a look at a player like Enzo Fernandez, instead of looking at 100 million fee, you're looking at 10 million for the first year, and it's spread out over 10 years. So what we've actually spent this season on the FFP books is not 600 million. It's far less than that because it's spread out. So for me, it's a risky strategy, because if these players don't actually work, you've got them on long-term contracts on big wages, and what do you do with them then? You could be stuck with a load of players that you can't shift. So that's where the risk element comes in. Their scouting has to be absolutely correct with the Mudriks, with all of these guys. But that's the way they've gone with, and that's why they wanted to bring in so many players. The problem that they've got in that situation is that they've brought in loads of players, but now they've got a bloated squad, and people are outside playing PSP and DS's outside changing rooms when they should be listening to the tactics. There's no space in the room. So you can't have everything, and they've sacrificed the season in a way by going down this road. But I'm not too angry with them. I just want them to learn from this, because this is what we do on Football Manager. It's what you do on FIFA. If you had the opportunity as an owner, any fan that walks into that ownership, you spend the bag, bring in the players you want. You'd sack the medical team. Anybody who's been disappointing you scouting wise, you sack them. You get rid of everybody. You wouldn't think logically and be like, we have to take our time, be cautious. No, you sack everybody. When you load up Football Manager, you ditch everybody. Everybody out. Every single time I load up that game, 10 staff are gone that day. Day.
I hear you.
So this is what you do.
Big shake up.
So this is what it is. Do you know what I mean? Like,
you think Todd Bowley was playing FM before he bought Chelsea? Is that what you're saying?
It's like he was. He came in with a dream. Do you know what I mean? And unfortunately, it's not lived out. But I've seen what he's tried to do in terms of he's tried to bring the average age of the squad down with the last window. He just needs to understand now that it's time to rein it in, and it's time to calm it down, and it's time to be stable. When people say that Chelsea wasted 600 million, that can't be determined until these players end their time at Chelsea, whether they were real flops. A lot of these players have come in, they've only been there for 4 or 5 months. So I think we've got a good squad, but it needs now good management, and it needs stability and calm and less players.
Needs refining for sure.
Yep.
You know, Tuchel, initially your manager coming into the season, sacked, Potter comes in. Do you think his time at Chelsea was a fair reflection of Potter as a manager, or do you think the circumstances around Chelsea, the high demand, the high standards, and the influx of players coming in through Todd Bowley and the people above Graham Potter doesn't reflect what Potter really is as a manager? Because before Chelsea, a lot of people thought Potter's next up. He's the one that's going to be given a chance. And I think that's probably what Todd Bowley heard, and he maybe advised as to bringing him next. Do you think it was a fair reflection on him? Do you think he was just part of he was flung in there and he was a part of the mess, or do you think he was the reason for the mess?
No, I don't think he can be the sole reason. I think he contributed with his lack of kind of demand for winning. You know, he kind of let the squad get away with poor performances and always defended them in publicly. And I think that works until it doesn't. And they started to look at him like, you're not authoritarian here. You're not demanding. You're not like Pep, who I've worked with. If you're Sterling, you're not like a Carlo Ancelotti. If I've, you know, that you're not one of the top guys. And we're not buying into this anymore, because you're very happy to lose a game and move on to the next. And that's not normal at a top club. You know, that usually consequences. So. But it wasn't all for him, you know, in terms of the bloated squad, in terms of the amount of players that came in. He maybe was just starting to integrate what he wanted going into the January window, and the next thing you know, you got a whole new squad, and you got to reintegrate and reteach all of that again. So I don't think it's a fair reflection. No, I think he's a better manager than what we saw, but I do think he lacks the kind of almost chaos that you need to go on in the corners of your mind to be a top manager. You need to be a little bit broken. Do you know what I mean? Pep is a little bit broken in some ways. He's a little bit tapped, but you need to be a bit tapped to be a top coach. I don't think he's tapped. I think he's too calm. I think he's too composed. He's too nice, and he bridged that gap was too early to go from Brighton to Chelsea. You've kind of got to go maybe to a Tottenham. You know, you've got to go to just one more step and then go up, like a Poch did, like a Nagelsmann did from Hoffenheim to Leipzig and then Bayern. Yep. I think there's a road, there's an adventure, and he didn't follow the map.
But then let's bring in Arteta now, because Arteta had to get through a fair few losses initially in his first couple of years at the club, and a manager that didn't have experience having come in. Would you say he's tapped? If you're saying a top coach needs to be a bit tapped, do you see that in
Mikel? He's definitely a little bit tapped. More than you can believe. Yeah.
More than you can believe.
I think Arteta, from what I saw from the Amazon doc, this guy is definitely a little bit tapped.
You thought he won Champions League? He flipped.
But you have to be. You know, the first time that I really was like, okay, this guy's serious, is the Aubameyang situation. Yeah. He didn't take no prisoners. You know,
maybe Ozil before that. But
but what we saw on tape is like, they could, you know, they were questioning him like, this is your goal scorer, this is your top marksman, and he was like, he is not coming back into this team under no circumstances. I don't care how many goals he scores, I don't care what he gives to the team, he's not coming back into this team for the sheer disrespect. And that's kind of the mentality that I move with a Lukaku, you know, and how that's handled in the summer. And that's why I'll be looking at Poch thinking, you need to be advised and almost educated on what happened at Chelsea for you to make that decision. For me, which is, he is a non-negotiable, doesn't come back into this squad. So Arteta, I think on this platform I called him a mid-table manager. Yeah. My humblest apologies. I would like to promote him to Continental. If you've played Football Manager, it goes world-class, Continental, and then National. I'm going to go Continental. I'm going to upgrade. Yeah?
What are you saying? If we won the league, it would have been a...
But
it would have been a bit of a mad thing.
Yes, you know what I mean? We walk before we can run. Do you know what I mean? Next season, Champions League, got more competitions to delve into. Obviously, Europa League didn't go too well. Bigger fish to fry and whatnot.
You had to get that in there,
I had to, yeah, of course.
You ain't standing here with Robbie, you know. You're standing here with me. You know, I was vexed when we went out of Europa League. But it's what it is. The game's the game, man.
Yeah.
I got to take it for the Arsenal fans. Listen, you lot have not won a game in your last 8, but we haven't won in our last 4. So as much as, you know, apologies, humblest apologies about Mikel Arteta, Continental manager, all these things, what do you make of this end of season for Arsenal? I mean,
it's rough. Yeah, it's rough. I mean, I didn't expect you to drop the points you did. Southampton, that was inexcusable. You're playing against the team at the bottom of the league, and inside 30 seconds you're 1-0 down. And this had been coming though, in terms of goals conceded. The Aston Villa game at Villa Park, the Bournemouth game at home, obviously West Ham, Liverpool, loads of goals being conceded. So that's not sustainable. It's like when Liverpool push City with the Sturridge, the Sterling, and the Suarez, but they were conceding truckloads of goals. And Arsenal just didn't ever go back to being that resilient team that had won those big 1-0 away games, you know, at Wolves and things like that. So I think for me, it's a learning curve. It's no surprise that, you know, your first rodeo, you fall off the horse, right? It's a young team, and it's a team that have never been in this position before. So of course they're going to feel the pressure. Of course they're going to crack. It's a massive expectation here at this stadium when everybody's talking about a title and they're starting to feel it now, and they're like, oh, we're almost there. That's gonna get onto the players. And I think the leaders that came into the team in the end, they're the ones that need to stand up, you know, and they didn't. You know, when you take a look at Zinchenko, you take a look at Partey, these are the guys that ended up faltering. You know, they're the ones that have dropped off, and they've got a lot to learn as well. Zinchenko, Jesus, they've come from City, but they weren't integral.
Yeah.
They were squad players.
They had leaders.
They had leaders, exactly. They had Fernandinho. They had, you know, all these guys that were
Gundogan, De Bruyne, all of these men.
Exactly, and now they've kind of been promoted, and you know they've done well. They've done really well. They've had a great season, these guys, but now they're learning what it's like to really lead a team, and you probably need to add more leaders into it as well going into next season. So it's a learning curve for everybody, but it's been a great campaign. I think where the big disappointment will be is that you guys are not leaving with anything in terms of a trophy, because the football that you've played, and for the amount of days, as everybody's seen how long you've been leading at the top of the table, record number of days, you should be leaving with something. Even if it's an FA Cup, even if it's a Europa League, it's something. So to leave with nothing is mad, to be honest.
Slightly off topic, but why aren't you this level-headed on Big Six? Man saying your first rodeo, you tend to fall off. On Big Six, it's like you fell off the horse. You must.
You're catching me in the morning. You're catching me in the morning. You know what I mean?
I should change the Big Six time.
You should change the time. In the morning, I'm a lot calmer. When it comes to the night now, the Gremlins, you know what happens.
I hear you. Yeah, that's true. You know, big up Steve and the Gremlins. Mason Mount, he's been closely linked to Arsenal in recent weeks. His Chelsea future very much in doubt. Liverpool seem to be the front runners for him. But what do you make of Mason Mount? Is he a player that ideally you want to be keeping, because there's going to be a hell of a lot of departures at Chelsea this summer? Is he a player that ideally, if it was up to you, you'd be keeping him, tying him down to a long-term contract? Or
I'd be keeping him.
Yeah.
I mean, there's I can think of a whole host of players that would be leaving before the 2-time Player of the Year. 100%. He's been awful this year when he's played. He's stagnated and kind of regressed for the last 18 months, but I have belief in that player that I saw in his first Player of the Year, in particular under Lampard and Tuchel. And I think for me, it would be a real shame if someone who'd done so much at such a young age was kind of just cast aside, when I'm looking at players already still in the squad that I can't wait for them to go. There's so many players that have way less talent, that have shown way less, that have contributed way less, that are still here. So when it comes to my sell list, like, I've got a lot of names, and he ain't really sitting at the top of that. He's not anywhere near it. So I'd like to keep him, but I'm also at a point with it where I'm like, I just want the drama to end as well. I just want a conclusion. If he's staying, then fantastic. If he's going, then we move, you know, because at the end of the day, I've seen Eden Hazard leave this club. I've seen, you know, top world-class players leave that club, and he's not one of them yet. He's not world-class yet. He's got still things that he needs to develop. He needs to get back on track. So I hope he stays. I think he's perfect for a manager like Poch, but we'll have to see. I don't want him going to a rival, because I know when he goes, he's going to do well, especially at Liverpool. He's been linked with Liverpool a lot. He fits into Klopp's team like a glove, no problem. Yeah. So it'll be tough to watch.
Yeah. What about Mudryk? Because Mudryk, big saga with Arsenal, date from November all the way to January and through the majority of it. But you pip us to the post, you get the deal done, you spend what you need to spend. But we haven't really seen the hype transfer into performances for Mudryk. I mean, is it a player that you're not necessarily given up on, because it's still very early days, he's still very young, and it's a new league, the toughest league, but is it a player that you have doubts about moving forward, or do you think he will come good?
I was never really gassed about Mudryk when he came in, because I never thought we'd get him. It was your player, really. He was twerking on Instagram. Yeah. I wasn't really a big fan of that. He was twerking for Arsenal and watching all the games. So for me, I was like, that's an Arsenal player. We get him, and I've had to kind of forgive him, you know, for the twerks, and it's fine. So, you know, now we move, and I'm just kind of hopeful for his future at the club. But I think there's talent there. I can see why you guys were interested. I definitely can. But he's still got things to learn as well. I think that's something that Poch will have to teach and kind of ingrain into him if he does come into the job. Off the ball runs and being the last man on the defender. I want him making those runs in behind and going alongside with the goalkeeper and putting it in the back of the net. That's what he needs to be doing. He's got the speed for it, and obviously he can dribble. I don't want to see him picking up the ball in the halfway line, trying to do build-up play and getting involved in midfield. And to be honest, the environment that we put him in for a player coming into a new league at a youngish age is a horrendous environment. Too many players, no set system, no stability, coaches are changing, awful form, no cohesion, no chemistry, no confidence. It couldn't be a worse situation to bring a player like Mudryk into. So I have no judgments on this season from him. I'm waiting for a fresh start in pre-season, as fresh as it can be, and then I kind of judge from next season. This season's a write-off.
Yeah, well, you say write-off, but we've still got games to play. Yeah. Tuesday night we're here. Does this game mean anything to you aside from bragging rights? And
it always means something. It's Arsenal. It's always something because, you know, if Arsenal were to lose to this version of Chelsea in the form that we're in, it would be quite funny. I must say, I would take great pleasure. But
I'm sure you would.
More than you can believe. But but I have no confidence, and it doesn't really mean anything in terms of the league. You know, it doesn't mean anything. We're just trying to get them 40 points. So no, it's one of the most deadest. It's one of the deadest games between us two I think I've seen in a very long time. Yeah. There's always been something, whether it's even if top four battle, it's nothing personal with Aubameyang BT Sport advert before.
About that, yeah.
There's always been something. This one doesn't really have much on it. You guys have kind of, ruined your own title race in a sense. We have ruined our whole season, so there's not really anything there but pride. But I've been asking for pride for a long time from the Pride of London, and I'm yet to get it. Do you know what I mean? These guys have just been they've just been a disgrace.
Just been a disgrace. I forgot about that nothing personal video. That feels like a while ago. And you know what? Our record against Chelsea, not just this season but in recent years, has been quite positive.
It has, yeah. You beat us at the Bridge. Twice, I think, is it? Or a draw.
Last year we beat you, this year we beat you.
Yeah, so we're struggling against Arsenal, and it's not what I'm used to with Drogba and those days. Those were the good old days. So
it's not what I'm used to with Henry and those were the good old days.
Wayne Bridge, Champions League.
That's one of the most painful moments. You know, behind Champions League final. Yeah. That Wayne Bridge goal against Arsenal. That's one of the most painful.
Really? Why is that? Is that just that shifting of the?
No, it wasn't even shifting because we went invincible that season.
Yeah.
But so that week in itself, going out of the Champions League to Chelsea, FA Cup to United, I think it was.
Okay,
off the top of my
hear
head.
you now. Yeah,
and then we had that big game against Liverpool where Henry pulled it out the bag.
Yeah,
that week was pain, but in the end, obviously, it was a historic season for us. So that lost over it. But listen, Emirates prediction time, Matisse. I'm going to go first with the home team. I'm going to say we should win the game. Like you said, this is probably the worst form of Chelsea I've ever seen since Roman come into the club. I'm going to go 3-1 Arsenal, and I think that's me being a bit weary considering our form. But we've got to turn it around at some point. So 3-1, we go back above City, apply a bit more pressure onto them. Not that I believe that will mean much come the end of the season, because I think it's City's league to lose now. But we have got to get back on track and do our job. So 3-1 Arsenal.
I put out a team on Talking Tactics that I thought would be good for this game and would make me semi-excited for the game. But Lampard's been playing 3-6-1s.
Yeah, I see it.
Gallagher's and Sterling's and Aspilicueta's a wing-back. So
he can't do that again after the last result. He can't.
He can. You wait and see. This man is a criminal.
He might need to put on the kit himself and get out there.
He should be on house arrest. I'm not gonna lie. This guy should have a tag. It's mad. What I've been witnessing in the last couple of games makes me have no confidence. So my prediction is a 2-0 Arsenal win, and it's up to these guys to prove me wrong, because I'm tired of giving decent predictions for Chelsea and they just come and slap me in the face. They just come and tell me, nah, we don't do that around here. We're gonna lose again, and I'm like, again. So yeah, I'm gonna go over 2-0 Arsenal win. I can't trust the manager to put out a team that I'm gonna like, or that a team that's gonna be competitive. We're coming up against one of the best teams in the league. You guys, for the form that you're in, you're still, you know how you want to play. You have a set plan. We don't have that. We're just on vibes, and it's not even vibes, because vibes is meant to be fun. It's meant to be enjoyable. So yeah, for me, I can't even lie. This is box to box. I have to be real. Yeah.
So Big Six, that's
where shameless. No, actually I need points. No. I need points.
No, you need to be real on there as well. Alright, cool, I hear you. So I'm going 3-1, Matisse is going 2-0. Let us know in the comment section your predictions, what lineups you want to see, because there's been a lot of debate around that amongst the Arsenal fan base, whether it's time to drop a few players, give a few fringe players more of a chance heading into the tail end of the season now. We are second in the league, Man City are above us. But we'll see how it goes, people. We'll see how it goes. Matisse, let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, Matisse, MAH, 3 letters, nice and easy to find. Nearly at 50k, so help me get there. It's the battle of the 2 teams in second. One table, my table. So it's a big game. It's a big game.
Second versus 12. Listen, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna tag Matisse's channel in the title. Like he said, he's close to 50k. So if you can help him get there, make sure you do. Me and Matisse are always doing content on my channel and his channel, so show some love. I'll put the socials in the description below as well. As always, hit the like button, people. Let's get it up to 1,000. And like I said, leave your comments in the comment section. Love for the love, people. We are out Tuesday night. Emirates, it's Chelsea. Peace. Welcome back to the Forever Arsenal podcast.
Black, white, young, old, Lee's on there. Disabled, abled.
He manages to slag me off.
Get your notifications on, ladies and gentlemen. Tactical's out tomorrow.
Your mic, not turn your camera off, mate.
For the audio listeners, Lee's in pieces. Lee's in pieces.
Shop for AFTV merch at shop.aftv.co.uk. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, and Twitch. We've got content for every platform, so check it out.